Winter, spring, summer, or fall? What's the best season to go is one of the many questions I get asked about New York. In today's video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to save some time and money for your New York visit. So when is the best time to stay in New York? That depends on what you're looking for. This is the average high-low temperature by month. January and February are the coldest months in New York. It is, however, the cheapest time to stay in the city. For example, the Even Hotel in Midtown East costs almost 3 times more in December versus January. If the cold doesn't bother you, this is the easiest way to save some money. And if you like snow, January and February are the 2 months that it's most likely to snow. Restaurant Week also happens during these 2 months when many restaurants have budget-friendly, price-fixed menus. If you're into fashion, there's also New York Fashion Week with events happening all over the city. Chinese New Year also falls on either January or February and is a great way to see Chinatown. If you don't like the cold and want to come when the weather is perfect, that would be September. The temperature is just right and the most you'll need is a light jacket. And unlike spring, it doesn't rain too much, but the downside is that hotels can be a lot more expensive. The most popular time to come is December, because Christmas in New York is really special. If you want to come for holidays, but still save some money, avoid the first 2 weeks in December. Hotels can be twice as much during this period versus the rest of the month. Here are the December rates for the Lotte New York Palace, a 5-star hotel that's popular during Christmas. As you can see, the first 2 weeks can be a lot more expensive than the rest of the month. But no matter when you come, there's always something to do in the city. If you're coming to New York, watching a Broadway show should definitely be on your list. In fact, if there's one thing I would do, is to watch a Broadway show. While the musicals are great, it can get quite expensive, and some shows can be very hard to get tickets for. However, there are a few ways to save some money. If you're flexible with which shows you want to watch and where you want to sit, the easiest way is to line up at the TKTS booth, which is located at 7th Avenue and 47th Street. You can buy same-day discounted tickets on many Broadway shows. You can also buy discounted tickets on next-day performances as well. Here you'll find a sign that tells you which shows are available, the prices, and the show times. You can also use their website that updates live with prices and show times, so you can see what's available before going there and standing online. They also have an app for Apple and Android that updates in real time. Another way to get discounted tickets is by lottery. You can enter a lottery on BroadwayDirect.com and also LuckySeat.com. And if you want to watch a show on a specific date, it's a lot cheaper to go to the show's website or BroadwayDirect.com because the service fees are a lot lower than other websites. BroadwayDirect.com is the official website that sells tickets for many Broadway shows. The fastest and most efficient way around the city is the subway. While the subway is generally safe, I can understand if you just don't want to use it. Incidents do happen, but many of those incidents happen in areas I wouldn't recommend going to, and at times you shouldn't be on the train. I've made a whole video on how to ride the subway and things to avoid, which I've linked below. Most of the time, nothing really happens, except there is a chance you might get assaulted by a furry 4-legged creature. Here are some options if you want to avoid the subway. The first option is the bus. Believe it or not, many New Yorkers actually use the bus. In fact, the bus has a few advantages over the subway. The biggest one is that while many subways go north and south in Manhattan, very few go east and west or across Manhattan. Many New Yorkers use the bus for this very reason, to go from the east side to the west side. On the left here is the New York City subway map, and on the right the New York bus map. Notice that most subways go north and south, and few go across Manhattan. If you look at the bus map, you'll see that there are 10 times more bus lines than there are subway lines. And you notice that buses go north and south, as well as east and west. Another advantage is that you won't have to climb any stairs, and all the buses are handicap accessible. So if you have any mobility issues, the bus might be a good option for you. The payment system for the bus is the same as the subway. You can use your smartphone, smartwatch, credit card, MetroCard, or your Omni card. The only downside of the bus is that it's a lot slower than the subway. Your bus ride might take 50% longer and sometimes can even take twice as long versus taking the subway. The next option is City Bike. If you're a good rider and have experience riding in the city, then City Bike might be a good alternative. City Bike is the largest bicycle sharing service in New York with bike stations all over the city. The blue bikes are the regular bikes, while the gray ones are electric. You can pay for your bike ride at the bike station or download their app, which will make everything a lot easier if you plan on using City Bike throughout your trip. A single 30-minute ride is $4.99, and a 24-hour day pass is $25 for unlimited 30-minute rides. Compared to the subway, it's not cheap. And these rates are only for the regular bikes and not the electric bikes. Electric bikes are additional 38 cents a minute, so a 30-minute ride will be another $11.40 on top of the base price. Aside from the cost, another downside of City Bike is that riding the city can be quite chaotic. While some streets have bike lanes, not all of them do, and you often see people ride in the wrong direction. I've been riding the city since I was a kid, and it can be a lot of fun. But over the years, I've seen many accidents and know people have been in accidents. So just be careful if you decide to ride in New York. And one last thing, absolutely do not ride on the sidewalk. New Yorkers really hate that. Another alternative is walking. New York is a very walkable city, and many attractions are within a 10 to 20 minute walk from each other. For example, to get from the southern tip of Central Park to Rockefeller Center is only an 11-minute walk. To then walk from Rockefeller Center to Times Square is just another 10 minutes. And then to walk from Times Square to the Empire State Building is only 15 minutes. Many places in New York are not that far away from each other. And you can see more of New York just by walking around. Taking a cab or an Uber is another option, although it's an expensive one. Even a short cab ride from Times Square to the Empire State Building, which is just a 15-minute walk, might cost over $20. Cabs charge 70 cents per 1/5 of a mile or every 60 seconds if you're stuck in traffic. Then there's also many surcharges that add up quickly. On top of that, there's a tip which most drivers expect to be 15 to 20%. Taking an Uber will generally cost more. The same trip will be $24 to $31 depending on the type of ride you pick. This could be even higher if you're taking a ride when it's busy and surge pricing is in effect. Perhaps the best way is to use a mix of all the alternative methods. For example, if you have a day planned out for downtown New York, you can take a tap down there and just walk to all the different attractions in the area. This way you can keep your costs down and still not have to ride the subway. With 74 Michelin restaurants and food from almost every region of the world, food is a major attraction for New York. From Thai to Italian to Cuban to Vietnamese to Chinese to Korean and Japanese, the city has it all. While there are many good restaurants all over the city, you may want to reserve well ahead for the very best ones like the 3 Michelin star Le Bernardin. But Michelin star restaurants aren't the only ones that need reservations. Some of New York's most popular restaurants like Minetta Tavern and Balthazar don't have Michelin stars but can be very difficult to get in. You can make a reservation by going to the restaurant's website or just by calling them. Most restaurants use booking services and you can also book through there as well. Many restaurants can be booked through Resi. If they are not on Resi, then they might be on Open Table. And TOC is used by a few restaurants like the 2 Michelin star Atomics. If the restaurants are fully booked or don't have any good reservation times, you can click the notify button and join the waitlist. So it would be a good idea to download the Resi app or the Open Table app so you can get updates. You can also consider going for lunch instead of dinner because it's much easier to get a lunch reservation than dinner. You might also save some money because many restaurants have a lunch menu that costs a lot less than their dinner menu. For example, dinner at Le Bernardin is $215 while lunch is just $135. Still expensive, but it is one of the best restaurants in the world. Another way to get a reservation is if you have the American Express Platinum Card or the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card. Both of these cards have great travel benefits, and getting reservations at top restaurants is something to have access to. Do note that some of the higher end restaurants have a dress code. While eating out in New York doesn't have to be a fashion show, I can guarantee you that you'll get better service if you dress appropriately. If high-end dining is not your thing but still want great food, there are plenty of casual places like the iconic Cat's Deli, Numwar Tea Parlor, Russ & Daughters, Lombardi's, John's Pizzeria, Clinton Street Baking Company, And if you like street food, you can get chicken over rice at the Halal Guys. While most food trucks have their prices displayed, some don't. So if the prices are not listed, you should always ask before ordering so you don't end up eating a $20 hot dog. Food halls like Urban Hawker on 50th Street and Chelsea Market on 9th Avenue are another great casual dining option featuring cuisines from all over the world.
Just to let you know, we are cash only, so can we...
Do note that some places are cash only, which brings us to our next tip. While most places take credit cards, you may need a bit of cash for some places that don't, and for tipping at the hotel or at the bar. It's best to bring some cash with you before you get to the city. But if you don't or need more, there are plenty of ATMs all over the city, but don't use an ATM like this one or like this one. They don't even look safe. And there's been many incidents with people getting their debit card information stolen using these standalone ATMs. In addition, they have very high fees, so you're gonna get robbed either way. The biggest banks in New York are Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo. They have branches with ATMs all over the city, and I recommend using one of these banks if you need some cash. Unlike other parts of the world, tipping is a big part of US culture. That said, you don't have to tip for everything. Typically, tipping is expected at restaurants where most people tip 20% of the bill before taxes. At the bar, it's $1 to $2 depending on the cost of the drink. I usually leave $1 for a beer and $2 for a cocktail. It is also expected at hotels where most tip $1 to $2 a bag, and taxis are 15 to 20%. If you're just getting coffee or getting something to go, you don't have to leave a tip unless you really want to. You'll often see a checkout machine like this, and you can just hit no tip and be on your way. The next thing you should know about New York is to make reservations as far ahead as possible. Visiting New York isn't a competition, but with close to 65 million visitors annually, getting a reservation might feel like one. Everyone will be looking to do and see the same things as you want to. So when it comes to restaurants, hotels, Broadway shows, and experiences, you should try to book as soon as you can. For example, visiting the Crown at the Statue of Liberty needs to be booked months in advance. It's currently May right now as I'm making this video, and the earliest time to get a ticket to see the Crown, which is the very top of the Statue of Liberty, is in September. One way to save a significant amount of money is to book your hotel way in advance. By booking ahead early, you may be able to find a hotel at a reasonable price, even during Christmas time, which is the most expensive time of the year in New York. If you book by late spring for a hotel in December, you'll be surprised that you can get affordable prices for some very good hotels. The Hilton Garden Inn in Tribeca is $283 a night. The Even Hotel in Midtown East is $255. The Maritime Hotel in Chelsea is $269. And the Marlton Hotel in Greenwich Village is $309. If you wait later in the year, these prices might even double or be even more. Perhaps the biggest question I get asked is, where should I stay? Many visitors come to New York for the food, the architecture, to see a Broadway show, and to experience the culture of the city. As a traveler myself, I always look for places that are centrally located so I can easily get to different parts of the city. Most importantly, one of my top priorities is to stay somewhere that is safe. I've made an extensive video on where to stay, which I've linked, but here's a quick summary of where you should stay in New York City. The downtown neighborhoods of Soho, Tribeca, the West Village, and Greenwich Village would be my top picks. These are some of the most iconic neighborhoods in the city, with great restaurants, beautiful architecture, and access to multiple subway lines, making it easy to get to attractions uptown or downtown. You can easily reach Broadway in 10 minutes, the Empire State Building in 5 minutes, the Brooklyn Bridge in 8 minutes, and Central Park in 15 minutes. Surprisingly, hotels in these areas are quite affordable. Another downtown neighborhood you should consider is the Meatpacking District. The Meatpacking District is a great area with lots of things to do, and the only downside is that it has access to fewer subway lines. If you want something close to Broadway, then Midtown East is a good choice that will put you in walking distance of the Theater District and all the attractions in Midtown like St. Patrick's and Rockefeller Center. Midtown East also has many affordable hotels, making it a great choice if you are on a budget. And finally, for visitors who want to be close to Central Park and museums, the Upper West Side or Upper East Side might be a good spot, although getting to some downtown attractions like the Brooklyn Bridge might take a little bit longer. But you might be traveling with a special friend who will love Central Park, which brings us to our next thing to know. If there's one thing that New Yorkers love more than the Brooklyn Bridge, more than their pizza, and even more than their Yankees, it is their dogs. New Yorkers absolutely love their dogs. We got big dogs, little dogs, and even baby dogs. In fact, we have over 600,000 dogs in New York City. So yes, you can definitely take your dog to the city. New Yorkers take their dogs everywhere, from shopping to eating out and even on the subway. You'll find that many hotels in New York are dog friendly and some even have welcome packages. As a dog owner myself, there are some things to keep in mind when bringing your dog to the city. The city can be loud and have sounds that can be a bit scary to your dog. So you may want to stay closer to Central Park, which even New Yorkers use to get a little peace and quiet away from the city. You'll also want to come when it's warmer, when many restaurants have outdoor seating so you can easily eat with your dog. Do note that while you can take your dog on the subway, they are supposed to be in a carrier, although I've never seen this rule enforced. And lastly, keep your dog on a leash, which will be a lot safer for them because the city can be very hectic. So how long should you stay? There are so many things to see and do in New York, it can be difficult to fit everything in. You could easily spend a week just visiting all the attractions in downtown alone, and I've already made a separate video about that. But of course there are attractions all over the city, like One World Trade, the Empire State Building, Central Park, St. Patrick's, the Brooklyn Bridge, Broadway, Wall Street, the Met, the Manhattan Bridge, Washington Square Park, the Flatiron Building, Chinatown, and the Statue of Liberty. And these are just some of the sights and things to do in New York. There's so much to do that I think it would take a minimum of 2 weeks to see and do everything and not rush through them. Of course, 2 weeks is a long time, so I think if you have 1 week, you can find the things that would interest you the most and have enough time to enjoy them. On average, I would pick 2 or 3 activities a day, so you have enough time without having to rush. Of course, some activities like visiting the Met might take an entire day by itself if you enjoy museums. If you only have a few days like a long weekend, then pick out some things that are close to each other so you can maximize your time. One of the big reasons why people come to New York is to see our skyscrapers, and to be on them is definitely a unique experience. There are 5 main observation decks in the city: the Empire State Building, One World Trade, Summit One Vanderbilt, Top of the Rock, and The Edge. As a photographer, I've been on all of them, and I can give you some advice on which one you should visit. For the most historic feel, there's nothing like being on the Empire State Building. While it's only a couple of years older than Top of the Rock, the feel is completely different, and when you're there it feels like you're standing on history. The building actually has 2 observation decks, the open air one on the 86th floor, and there's an enclosed one on the 102nd floor. I definitely prefer the outdoor deck because you feel like you're soaring high above the city. And you can see One World Trade to the south, the Chrysler Building to the east, Summit One Vanderbilt to the north, and The Edge to the west. All great views except there is one big problem. You can't see the Empire State Building because you're actually on the Empire State Building. So if you want to see the Empire State Building, then this observation deck isn't the right one for you. Summit One Vanderbilt is one of the newest observation decks, and it opened in October 2021. Except for a small outside area, the deck is fully enclosed with mirrors all around the interior. It has a very close view of the Empire State Building, and out of all the observation decks, it has the very best view of my favorite building, the Chrysler. To the west it has views of the Bank of America building and The Edge. There are mirrors all around the deck and lots of rooms of different activities. Summit One Vanderbilt is great for those looking for more than just an observation deck, and because it's fully enclosed, it's a good choice for the colder months because the outdoor observation decks can get very cold and windy during the winter. It has a very different feel from the outdoor observation decks, and to me it feels more like someone's expensive penthouse. While it wouldn't be my first pick, it does however have great views of the Chrysler Building. Located in the tallest building in America, One World Observatory is fully enclosed and has views of the Brooklyn Bridge and Manhattan Bridge. Midtown unfortunately is very far north, and everything including the Empire State Building looks very small. It does, however, have a nice restaurant with downtown views, so I would only recommend it if you want a nice meal with great views. The most unique observation deck is the Edge. It's located in Hudson Yards and on the west side of Manhattan. The Edge is a very large outdoor deck with views of One World Trade and the Empire State Building. The views are almost secondary as many visitors use the large deck to take pictures of themselves. Because it's all the way on the west side, the vantage points are a bit limited, but you have lots of places to take that Instagram photo. So if the most important thing is taking that memorable Instagram photo, the Edge is the right deck for you. And if you do decide to go to the Edge, you can get a free ticket to the Edge if you spend at least $40 at the restaurant Peak, which is located on the 101st floor of 30 Hudson Yards. The last deck on our list happens to be my favorite. In my opinion, Top of the Rock has the best views out of all the observation decks. You can see the Empire State Building, One World Trade, and Summit One Vanderbilt to the south. And to the north, Top of the Rock has a great view of all the new skyscrapers on Billionaires Row with Central Park as a backdrop. Top of the Rock does have two downsides. It has an obstructive view of the Chrysler Building, and the west view is also partially blocked. But the north and south views are incredible, and if I had to pick one just for the views, it would easily be Top of the Rock. There are a few companies who offer sightseeing passes in New York. These promise to save you time and money on attractions in the city. City Pass is the most well known, but it's not the only one. Go City and the New York Pass are two others, and the Sightseeing Pass is another one. All these companies promise to save you time and money on New York's major attractions. But in reality, you probably won't save any money, and you'll be in a rush to go see all the attractions in the time you're allotted. The reason why you won't save anything is because a lot of the attractions cost the same or less if you booked it yourself. Also, many of New York's attractions offer discounts to seniors, students, and veterans. So if you're in one of these groups, booking on your own will be a lot less as well as more flexible. Also, some experiences like visiting the Crown at the Statue of Liberty or the 102nd floor observatory at the Empire State Building are not offered. So you have to book these yourself anyway. I think the only reason to use one of these attraction passes is if you want to book everything in one place instead of going to all the individual sites. But that comes with a cost of flexibility in both time and choices of what you can see. Also, some of New York's most epic attractions can't be booked, which brings us to our next thing to know. Over the years, I've been fortunate enough to cover some of the biggest events and parades in New York City, and I can tell you that watching one of these events is something you should try to schedule your visit around. Not only are they free, they are truly epic, and the city spends a lot of time and money to produce these incredible shows. While there are many events all year round, there are 6 big ones that I would recommend. The best ones are the Chinese New Year celebration, the 4th of July fireworks, the New York City Marathon, the Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Halloween Parade, and the biggest one of all is the annual ball drop in Times Square on New Year's Eve. Chinese New Year occurs in January or February every year, depending on the lunar calendar. The actual Chinese New Year parade happens around 2 weeks after Chinese New Year. Because it's so late, it doesn't draw as many of the larger and better line dance groups. The one you should actually go to is the Chinese New Year celebration, which happens on the actual day of Chinese New Year. They celebrate in many different places around Chinatown, but most of the activity is centered around Mount Street and Bayard Street. It's not a formal parade, but the streets are closed off, and many line dance groups dance in front of stores and businesses to bring them luck and fortune. It's a bit chaotic, but that's what makes it fun. There's just stuff happening all over the place. And you can also enjoy some great Chinese food while you're down in Chinatown. Since 1958, the annual 4th of July fireworks has been one of New York's most anticipated events, and it's definitely something special to see in person. For the past few years, it's been alternating sides from the west side of Manhattan to the east side of Manhattan, so do check before you come to New York. To get a good viewing spot, you probably want to come an hour before start time, which is usually around 9:25 p.m. Over 60,000 fireworks are used during the 20-minute show. With over 2 million spectators, the Halloween parade in Greenwich Village might be the city's favorite event. The costumes are elaborate and many groups practice all year round for the event. The parade usually starts around 7 p.m. in Soho and goes up to 14th Street along 6th Avenue. Try to get there early, and because the parade stretches for over 20 blocks, you can usually find a spot somewhere if you're not too late. Also note, if you get dressed up and come in a costume, you can also march in the latter parts of the parade. In one of the most competitive cities in the world, where everyone has roots from another country, the New York City Marathon fits the city perfectly. With runners from all over the world, it is not only the largest marathon in the world, but also one of the most exciting to watch in person, as the crowd cheers on elite runners, family, and friends. And because the route is so long, you can easily find a spot somewhere to see this great event. You only have to come early if you want to watch the elite runners, otherwise you can come anytime after the race starts. The most popular event in New York is the Macy's annual Thanksgiving Day Parade, with an attendance of over 3.5 million people. The family-friendly parade, with its larger-than-life balloons, brings out the kid in all of us. Aside from the incredible balloons, it features some of the country's best marching bands and cheerleaders. One of the most popular spots to see the parade is the area around Radio City Music Hall. And if you want to watch the parade from there, you have to come extra early. It's a lot easier further uptown, but to be in the very front row, you'll still need to get there early. Depending on where you want to watch the parade, you have to get there either 40 minutes or an hour and a half before it starts. If I had to pick one event to attend, this would definitely be the one. It might surprise you, but the New Year's Eve ball drop at Times Square has less attendance than many of New York's smaller events. Only 1 million people are actually at the ball drop event, but that's because only 1 million people are allowed into Times Square. The amount of people who actually want to go is probably 5 times this number, and that makes it one of the hardest events to get into. If you're able to endure well over 12 hours of waiting without the ability to easily go to the bathroom in potentially freezing weather, then you'll be treated to 20 minutes of pure magic. The ball dropping at midnight with confetti flying everywhere and Frank Sinatra blasting in the background will be a memorable once-in-a-lifetime experience. But to get to that moment, you'll have to endure being penned up in a barricaded area without the ability to move around and not much to do. And most of the performance that you see on TV will be difficult to see in real life, and my friend Ryan Seacrest only comes out for a few minutes into the crowd. In short, for most of the evening, nothing much is going on. It's almost like a survival test, and only the strong ones who make it all the way to the end are rewarded. While I can't give you any advice on how not to go to the bathroom for over 12 hours, I can offer you some tips on how to actually get into the event. If you want the very best viewing spots, you need to get there before 9 a.m. Some people get there even earlier. As you get closer to 12 p.m. or noon, you'll be cutting it close to be able to get into a good viewing area. After 12 p.m., you risk not being able to get a good view or even getting in. So if you're looking to do this bucket list event, make sure you get there very early. New York is always in the news, sometimes for good reasons and sometimes for bad ones. With a population of over 8 million people, which is twice as large as the second biggest city in America, there's bound to be an incident somewhere. Everything gets amplified in the news, especially when something happens here. That said, on most days and for most people, nothing happens except for going to work, strolling around the city, and then heading right back home. For the most part, New York is one of the largest safe cities in the world. But it's also undeniable that things happen from time to time. I have to admit, a few years ago during COVID and the many protests of 2020, the city just did not feel safe. A previous mayor did a poor job handling everything that was happening. Many of those problems have now been addressed, and the city seems to be headed in the right direction again. While the city seems safe, you should always be aware of your surroundings. So here are some important safety tips for New York. The first one is to stay in a safe part of the city. So how do you know if it's a safe area? Well, the more expensive neighborhoods are usually the safer ones. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The city just seems to protect these areas better. The second one is to not to ride the subway after midnight. I will show you some footage, but I'm rarely on the train at that time. And even if I was, I would definitely not take out my camera. The third tip is to use a zipper clip for your bag. Certain areas can get crowded, and you won't be able to tell if someone's trying to open your bag. This will make it just a little bit harder if someone's trying to steal your belongings. The fourth tip is to avoid isolated areas, especially late at night. The fifth tip is to keep anything valuable in your front pocket instead of your back pocket. You're more likely to feel someone's literally trying to pick your pocket. And the last tip is to avoid anything or anyone that seems suspicious. Just walk away quickly to a different area. I might sound overly cautious with these tips, but I want you to have a great time in New York City. Thanks for watching and have a great trip. If you want to learn more about New York, watch these videos next.